stream, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner wave, the land of the free, home of the brave. All right, all, please be seated. Welcome to the Savage Nation God Talk on this Memorial Day weekend. I can't say that I have a clear vision this morning of what is necessary to say or what I choose to say. I have a title, which is all I have, and I have some thoughts. But I don't have a congealed idea, a firm concept for you today. You see, I'm distracted by world events. I'll tell you more about that in a moment, but today's God Talk. First of all, thank you very much for supporting me for these nearly 30 years in the media and for being here with me this morning on this Memorial Day weekend. But we should all remember what Memorial Day weekend means. We are remembering whom? Those who have fallen, that we may have the freedoms that we enjoy today. God Talk. Has God abandoned America because America abandoned God? I make notes. Has God abandoned America because America abandoned God? It's actually an interesting theorem. It's been used for centuries to intimidate and bamboozle people into trying to get them to behave, in plain English. In other words, every religion says that the village burned down because the people were not godly. Every village says the plague entered the village because the people were not godly. Wherever you turn, you see the same thing. Is it true? How do I know? I'm only one man amongst billions. I don't know about the truth of these things. I know that many of you are atheistic, and you watch me for entertainment value to see how someone stuck in the past can survive in the present. How an educated man such as myself, with a doctorate and 2 master's degrees, the author of 30 books, an author whose writings will be housed permanently or are housed permanently in the Bancroft Library, whose medicinal plant collections are permanently housed in the Jepson Herbarium. How could a man of science and letters still believe in this concept called God? I wish I had a simple answer. I don't. I wish I can give you a boom and you'd say, that's it. That does it for me. Love it, hate it. So this morning when I put up the question, I woke up, it's Memorial Day weekend, and I said, okay, what am I going to do? Entertain myself today? Look for pleasure? Why not? I mean, I'm a human being. I went out with 2 friends last night, and I'll tell you more about that a little later if it's appropriate. Maybe not. Maybe I'll play a piece of the tape of the dinner. 2 guys, 2 older guys who've been around a long time and know a little bit about life. Good men. And they know history. One a military veteran, one not a military veteran. And there's a lot to be said about that dinner last night. Many people will be going to military cemeteries tomorrow to pay their respects to those who died, that we may be here today with each other. Never forget, that's why we're free. I don't have to now explain it in great detail, do I? So this morning, I put this up on Twitter. Does the Savage Nation want God Talk this morning? Yes or no? I made it simple. I got near 3,000 people within 30 minutes saying yes. And I had decided that if I got at least 1,000 people saying yes, I would do this. Because I know the magnitude of my audience, the magnitude and the minitude. So I figure 1,000 is enough of a congregation to do it. So at this point, we're probably at 5 to 10,000 people on several channels, which is really a large audience when you consider the fact that I have no major platform other than myself, my social media, and my podcasts. I don't have a radio syndication program anymore. I do have television on, but it's short cameo appearances on Newsmax on Mondays and Wednesdays, which I love. So I asked, does the Savage Nation want God talk this morning? Yes or no? Now, one person said this. He said, no, ancient Middle Eastern supremacist, divisive, abusive religious fairy tales have no place in the 21st century. I didn't get mad. I understand that viewpoint. I grew up with an atheist father, to be very honest, God rest his soul. And he didn't believe in God. He had seen too much hell in his life as an immigrant. He suffered so much in his life, and he figured he didn't believe in it. That's all. So this one said, no, ancient Middle Eastern supremacist, divisive, abusive religious fairy tales have no place in the 21st century. So that view that religion is the opiate of the masses was first stated by Karl Marx, and it led to the mass murderer Mao Zedong, Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler, Pol Pot, and a few others like them who didn't believe in God. They believed in a massive state. So you replace God with what? If you create the emptiness, the void, where there is no God, you say, well, there is no God. So what is there? Oh, well, there's a great, great thing called a state, like Joseph Biden is building, a fascist dictatorship. Now, we are supporting a fascist dictatorship in Ukraine. Again, this is a very sensitive topic for me because nobody wants to see the Ukrainians lose any more men or the Russians lose any more men. I can't believe that we have fallen as a nation to the point where the vermin in the media celebrate how many Russians were killed yesterday. Either Zelensky is a living example of the devil. I mean, I don't mind saying, yes, the Ukrainians deserve freedom, but this little fraudulent bastard with the green shirt already, can he change the outfit? He's still playing the role of the savior of the Ukrainian people when he's look, the estimates range that between 300,000 and 800,000 Ukrainian men have been slaughtered. Never mind the crap that you read in the media. It's all propaganda. This is from military sources. And I said, well, where do you get that data from? They said by satellite imagery of the graves, the grave sites in Ukraine. 5 to 800,000 Ukrainian men wiped out, an entire generation gone. They're conscripting girls, old men, grabbing people off the streets. It's a shame they didn't grab our Secretary of State when he's playing the guitar in a Kiev nightclub 2 weeks ago. Can you believe that we have a Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, an Obama stooge, would go into a country that's lost a generation because of America's warmongering psychotics like him and play the guitar in a nightclub and not understand how crazy he is? Well, that's why this country is falling apart. You know, I know a few men who have fought in combat. I'm not one of them, but I know a few, and they respect me. All of them do. They consider me a warrior for the truth. Leave it at that. I'm not as brave as they were. I never had the red badge of courage on me. Maybe a bloody nose here and there as a kid, but no, I never been shot in combat. I never been stabbed with a bayonet. I never took shrapnel in my guts. So not one of them supports the war between Ukraine and Russia. Not one of them supports this war. There is not a military man who supports this war because they've seen what war is. And the I don't know, I don't even have a single word for these people ruining this nation or ruining the world under Biden. The man came to power saying he would bring the country together. Do I have to go on to what he has done? A man of peace, Joseph Biden? He may as well be the devil incarnate. So I'm live on Twitter. I'm live on YouTube right now, all dressed up and nowhere to go. Hamas rockets target Tel Aviv amid escalating tension. So Hamas, holed up in Rafah, is firing long-range rockets into Tel Aviv. They want more war. They want more war. Meanwhile, NATO, the chief of NATO, wants Ukraine to use Western missiles against Russia in Russian territory. It's total insanity. So I tweeted, NATO psychopathic cowards push World War III. And there he is, the little stooge, the puppet, Zelensky, who is a total and absolute Hitler right now. The only thing missing are the death camps. He's abandoned all elections, declared martial law, and we're sending him hundreds of billions of dollars. If you've studied war, I happen to be a student of history, and I was just reading over the weekend the history of Stalingrad, the most brutal battle in history. And if you want to know what the Russian military is capable of, study the history of Stalingrad. They defeated Hitler. The Russians, and they were losing the war. Stalingrad has made us into creatures with no feelings. If you read about it, men starving to death in icy trenches and icy graves, starving to death because Hitler couldn't resupply those bastards. And I don't blame them. I blame Hitler and his men, the leaders, for putting these men into this combat zone. Famished soldiers dragging themselves through the snow, starving to death because the air supply, how could you bring an air supply in blizzards when the Soviets were shooting down these German resupply planes to the trapped army? They were digging up the corpses of dead horses, the Germans, and making bone soup of dead horses, by the way. That's how it became toward the end. Now, they marched in gloriously the way Napoleon marched into Russia. Napoleon lost 500,000 Frenchmen, and France never, ever recovered from that loss, which is why France became a wimpy nation. The spine of France was destroyed by Napoleon's invasion of Moscow. Up to 100,000 of the approximately 275,000 encircled soldiers lost their lives during the Soviet counteroffensive. Many died of cold, and the living had to pull the clothes from the dead in order to survive. See, these are unimaginable horrors. Bone soup. Stalingrad made us into creatures with no feelings. This is what Biden's going to do to this country. Make us into creatures with no feelings. Destroying the church, God. Before the German attack on Stalingrad, it was home to 400,000 Russian people. They couldn't escape before Stalin forbade them to escape. Luftwaffe bombing made Stalingrad uninhabitable for the remaining, who moved into makeshift burrows in the ravines near the town. They made burrows like animals to survive. And here the civilians of Stalingrad witnessed an endless nightmare of explosions, hunger, disease, and death. Many, even townswomen, were also called up either for the army or, for example, to dig trenches. I'm giving you just little tiny bullet points. I can't read the whole history of Stalingrad, the horror of it. So just when the Germans thought they could defeat thought they could defeat the Russians, Stalin brought out another 1 million-man army. Another 1 million men came out. If you don't understand anything about Russian warfare methods, you can't even talk about Ukraine and Russia and the war between Ukraine and Russia. Ukraine was part of Russia, of course, at the time of the Soviet Union. And Ukrainian warriors were some of the toughest. They're great fighters, great, strong fighters, reduced to ruin. So just before the end, the Germans conquered 90% of Stalingrad. They thought they were going to win. But the campaign had cost the Germans dearly. Then all of a sudden, what happens? Winter sets in. Winter sets in. 6th Army German soldiers are being whipped in the face with blizzards. Russian winter is pushing temperatures down below 40 degrees centigrade, minus 40 centigrade. Germans, unlike the Russians, are not dressed for winter war. The Russians are dressed for winter war. The Germans are not dressed for winter war. Frostbite and amputations will soon become a part of everyday life. Nearly 15,000 soldiers lose limbs because of the cold. And while the frost bites the Germans, Soviet warplanes relentlessly attack German barracks and tents, and the Red Army artillery sends constant bursts of shells against the Germans from the Volga's opposite bank. The explosions rob the Germans of the sleep their bodies screamed for. And then suddenly the trap is closed around them. Germans have fought from building to building throughout Stalingrad. The Red Army has secretly accumulated, listen to this, more than 1 million troops. The Germans miscalculated. 1 million troops were massing in the distance. 13,000 guns, 900 tanks were massing on the steppes of Russia, north and south of Stalingrad, ready for Operation Uranus, probably a battle you never heard about. Early in the morning on November 19th, there were reports of an 80-minute-long bombardment in the sky over the frozen landscape outside Stalingrad, so powerful that the earth shook. Then Soviet tanks and foot soldiers installed themselves on the steppes northwest of Stalingrad. Exactly 2 minutes after the last blow, the Red Army stormed forward. By noon, Stalin's troops break through the Germans' flanks, which are now manned by Romanian and Italian auxiliary soldiers. General Paulus must abandon fighting in Stalingrad's ruins and send his tanks to the new front that the Russians have opened up to the west. I'll pause there in a moment to tell you what's going to happen in Ukraine. Shortly afterwards, reports arrived saying that the Russians are now attacking from the southeast too. A gigantic pincer movement is underway, and the Russians' rapid advance spreads panic through the German lines. So suddenly, the Soviet trap closes on Hitler's Sixth Army on November 23rd. And while the Soviet soldiers are ecstatic and burst into gigantic celebrations, the remaining 275,000 German soldiers are in trouble, pressed up against Stalingrad from all sides. So General Paulus sends a plea to the madman in Berlin. He says the army is surrounded. We have little fuel left. When it is used, the tanks are heavy weapons, and heavy weapons will be immobile. Ammunition is scarce. Our supplies will only last 6 days. Requesting the freedom to act, the situation may force us to leave Stalingrad. So Hitler says no, because he can't abandon Stalingrad to the Russians, because it's an ego thing for him, the drug addict Hitler. And then Hitler, because he's a drug addict, thinks that the German troops' fight will collapse and put the whole invasion of the Soviet Union in danger. He overhears Luftwaffe Chief Jeshenek warning that the Sixth Army must hold Stalingrad, assisted by an airlift of 700 tons of supplies every day. But Luftwaffe finds it impossible to deliver them in the harsh weather and with limited number of aircraft. Then Hitler tells his commander, Paulus, that they must hold their position at all costs, despite the threat of temporary encirclement by the Russians. Paulus and the other officers who know better are shaken. If the army doesn't break out soon, it will be doomed. He wanted to break out and retreat, but Hitler, the drug addict, wouldn't let him retreat. The officers talk to Paulus and suggest going against the madman Hitler's orders to save soldiers' lives. But always loyal, Paulus refuses. Hitler cuts through all the protests with his final order, quote, Volga front and northern front must be maintained at all costs. Supplies will come by air. Well, their supplies didn't come by air. Supplies were shot down. He ordered 700 tons daily to supply the men, the encircled Sixth Army. But blizzards and lack of space made the task impossible. And a Russian air defense shot down an average of 5 German aircraft every day. You can read the rest yourself. Famine, desperation, violence, snow, and cold make life an unbearable suffering. The small, pitiful bread rations are all that's keeping the men alive. Most soldiers are physically so malnourished that they look like bony old men. Listen to this very carefully. Until July, every man received a ration of 100 grams of bread. And you people are worried about gluten. Every man received a ration of 100 grams of bread, which they lived on, by the way. But you're afraid of bread because it has gluten in it. After Christmas, the ration was reduced to 50 grams. Later, only men on the front line received 50 grams. The rest got water soup, which we tried to improve with the bones of dead horses we dug up, wrote a German colonel. So Paulus wants to retreat. And no, Hitler won't let them retreat. The rest is history. So Hitler turns Paulus into a field marshal because no field marshal had ever surrendered before. He figures that that'll do the trick, and he'll fight until the last German is dead. German officers openly discuss whether to surrender or commit suicide. Some speak fanatically about fighting to the bitter end and to be an inspiration for the future of German youth. Paulus sends a telegram to Berlin and Hitler begging to be allowed to surrender. The troops are without food and ammunition. It's inevitable that we will collapse. The army are asking for permission to surrender and save the remaining lives. The drug-addicted Fuhrer responds by appointing Paulus to field marshal. You see, no field marshal ever surrendered in battle, so the message is clear: fight to the last man. Well, anyway, the rest is history. The Russians cut directly through to Stalingrad's heart, where thousands of Germans stand with their hands over their heads in surrender. Others do not even have the strength to raise their hands, but collapse on the streets, wounded, starving, and exhausted. And there's the end of the story. While Stalin's forces squeezed the last breath from the German soldiers, Paulus finally realizes the battle is lost. On January 31, the exhausted, ill, and disillusioned field marshal, Paulus, surrenders to a mere 21-year-old Russian lieutenant. 2 days later, the last encircled and surrounded German units in Stalingrad's northern industrial area also surrender. After nearly 5 months of uninterrupted strikes and fighting, silence finally falls on Stalingrad. What does this have to do with Ukraine? Well, if you can't study history, you'll never know what the hell is going on. You're going to leave it to Joe Biden to study history? The man doesn't know how to button his fly. Who the hell is running this war? Even the Pope, as Leninist as he is begging for peace. Everyone knows where this is going. Why did the maniacs in the military-industrial complex not understand that we could all die from this? Do they give a shit? Pardon me? So I'm going back to the core essence of today's God talk. Has God abandoned America because America abandoned God? I don't know. I know that the country is melting down. News yesterday out of New York was crazy. One of Alvin Bragg's army set a white man on fire inside a New York City subway car. So I sarcastically tweeted, will Mayor Adams offer him a job as fire commissioner? The media is so cowardly, they call him a maniac. No, it was a racist black man setting a white man on fire in a subway car. And Alvin Bragg will probably release the black man and make him fire commissioner. The same Alvin Bragg who was persecuting Donald Trump. The country is dying. There's a lack of intelligence. There's a lack of morality. There's a lack of godliness. There's a lack of common sense. What can I do about it? I'm one man. Nothing. NATO chief allow Ukraine to use Western missiles against Russia. Are you listening to this? They want more war. NATO, the psychopathic degenerates in NATO want World War III. Do you actually think that French troops and Belgian troops and English troops can fight the Russians? Do you actually think they can go there and fight? There's no army there to speak of. They can't even defend their own London from the Muslim invasion. They're now going to go on the front lines against Russians who've been fighting for years now. Hardened troops. What the hell is wrong with you people? And there's that idiot from NATO. Who are these people? They're like neo-Nazis to me. And Americans keep sending hundreds of billions of dollars. Unbelievable. And what are we going to do here in America? We send $100 billion, $60 billion to the entertainer. Now, we read every day that big gains for Ukraine every day. All lies. But they need more money. We all know it's a lost cause. I try to tell you the Russians are never going to quit. We've given Ukraine enough money and weapons, but they've run out of men. So we're at war with Russia without a declaration of war. When is this going to end? When is this going to end? Who is going to step up and stop this? Now, look, I don't want to go into a Trump worship hour here, but Trump said he would stop the war immediately when he wins. It may be too late by then with what's going on in the world. The world's falling apart. We have a 40% inflation of our food costs under Joseph Biden, under Bidenomics. You hear this? And he's telling us things are great. Amazing. Just amazing. How in the world can this go on? So, war is hell. Peace is patriotic. No military man that I know of who's actually fought in combat, not a fat slob who sat in the Pentagon waiting for his pension to arrive. No man who's seen his fellow soldiers' guts fall out from a shrapnel attack wants war. Not one person in Biden's administration has been in the military. Not one. There are sorority girls, sorority boys, perverts through and through, mentally shot, playing the guitar in the middle of a war zone like it's a fun game for YouTube. So what can we the people do? The Pope himself, who is a Leninist through and through, a plant, wants the war to stop. You want the war to go on. You want the war to go on. You want it to go on. Okay, I get it. You sitting there in your comfortable pajamas listening to me want the war to go on. God talk, has God abandoned America because America abandoned God? I've given you a little story about Stalingrad and how the Russians suddenly came up with another million men that the Nazis didn't know about and then encircled the Sixth Army. Putin said that he's willing to settle for peace right now. He's gotten the neutral zone he wants between Ukraine and Russia because he does not want NATO missiles on his border any more than we wanted missiles in Cuba aimed at America. Remember JFK? When we woke up to Russian missiles, Soviet missiles that was sent to Cuba, what did we do? Does anyone remember what we did? We were on the verge of World War III because we would not have enemy missiles pointed at us on an island 70 miles from Florida. What would you do if we woke up and Mexico brought missiles to the border of America? Would we tolerate that? It's enough that they're flooding us with fentanyl and drugs, and they're in all 50 states now, disseminating their product across America. They've invaded us, basically conquered the population through drugs, the way the Chinese were subdued with opium dumped by the English to subdue the Chinese for profit. So the Mexicans are doing what the British did. Instead of using opium, they're using fentanyl, manufactured somewhat with Chinese starter compounds. And so the Chinese are conquering America through drugs the way the British conquered China with opium. I try to explain this week that the great FDR, the socialist president who tried to pack the Supreme Court, was stopped by his own party because then, 1938, the Democrats had moderate Democrats who said this is unconstitutional. But here we see that evil bastard Schumer, along with his cohorts, trying to destroy the U.S. Supreme Court and pack it with more psychopathic communists to control the population even further because they don't have enough power. They want more power. They're sick. There are no moderate Democrats left. There are none. I try to explain that this week. But it fell on deaf ears. Who listens to the truth? Who listens to reality? Who listens to history? What the hell am I doing this for? What is the difference if I do this or not? All is vanity. So I did this for vanity. I don't expect it to change a damn thing. Yeah, of course America abandoned God. We have an atheist for a president. I don't believe there's a God-fearing person in his entire administration. Did you hear what I just said? I do not believe there is a God-fearing person in Biden's entire administration. Not one. So am I arguing that Putin is a religious man and on the side of good? Absolutely not. He's a dictator. He's just protecting his own people. He loves Russia and he loves his own people, and he's protecting them from the maniacs in NATO who wanted to put nuclear-tipped missiles on his border in eastern Ukraine. So he went to war. Period. End of story. That's the whole story. Don't look for any more complexity than that. So I've been with you now 31 minutes. It's really enough of God talk. Yet I said atheists and Satanists, by the way. I know the difference. In America, there's almost no difference. Atheists and Satanists have become one and the same in the Biden administration. I could read from God Talk, God, Faith, and Reason. I love this book. It's a great book of mine. Every word is mine. Some from writings from the 1980s, some from writings from the recent period. But I don't want to read from a book today. I've given it to you, one from the heart. God, Faith, and Reason. Is there hope in hopeless times? The secret within the secret is that there is no secret. That's the mystical Kabbalah of Michael's mind. As I've gotten older, I realize there is no secret. That's the secret within the secret. There is no secret. There is no secret. This is it. That's the whole story. Just be nice to people. Be as nice as you can. All religions boil down to one sentence. Do not do unto others as, do unto others as you would have them do unto you is a good one. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Or do not do unto others as you would not have them do unto you. Period. End of story. Peace is patriotic. Maybe Obama is the devil. I mean, I wrote enough books about the man when he came along. He had the voice of the devil. He convinced me he was going to be a good leader. I remember. I had hope when he came along. I thought he was an honest centrist who would save this country from the evil, greedy ones, the warmongers. He turned out to be the devil himself. He opened us up to the Islamist invasion. He still probably worships Mecca, to Mecca. He's definitely aligned with Iran, along with Valerie Jarrett, everything, etc., and so forth. You know the history of this. If you study any of it, you know the whole history of it. I don't know. It's a long Memorial Day weekend. Long day's journey into night. If you read Eugene O'Neill, you know what I'm talking about. Each day is a long journey for me. It's a long, long journey into night. I try not to fill the days with emptiness. I try to fill my days with thoughtfulness and nature. Sometimes I'll just stare at the water or the birds and watch them. I'll feed them once a day, maybe some bread. And I watch the beauty of nature. But I watch nature very carefully, and it's brutal. It's vicious. It's survival of the fittest. You'll see one bird species attack the nest of another bird and kill the chicks and steal the eggs. Did they do it because they don't believe in God? Survival of the fittest. It's that simple. I learned it when I was very young. I was an idealist as a kid. My book, A Savage Life, is a good one. You ask for a biography. Well, here's a good one. It's out there somewhere. New York Times bestselling author Michael Savage. Great picture of me. Very ponderous. I remember when Vince Vermini took that picture. I didn't like it at first because it was too realistic. We don't like, Blue Jays do that. Absolutely right. Blue Jays kill the other birds. So everybody wants me to entertain them. I get it. Be funny, Mike. Tell us about Fat Al and the tuna. Tell us about Louie and the monkey. Tell us about train tracks. I think I'll play the train track sound on the way out. I can do it now. I got it in the queue. I play the national anthem. There's a funny story in this one that may work. Not Happy and Sad Cufflinks, not Woodchuck Bill, not here, Fat Pat and Tippy the dog. Tippy the dog would let people in our house, not out. How our immigration policy should be. I mean, not that way. It should be reversed. I still have a bit of a laugh left in me. Not as much as I would like, but I still know how to laugh. Went out with two friends last night. We had a few laughs. A couple of guys who know what's going on in the world. One of them you've seen before. And what can I say to you? I did a video. It was Colonel Tony Dinshaw. He's a full bird. And I said, how'd you become a colonel? You were a lieutenant colonel when you retired. He teaches combat medicine in the National Guard. Even at his age, in his 80s, he was teaching young men and women how to fix combat wounds. I'm a pretty amazing guy. Let me see where the video is. I did one last night. I could probably play it for you right now. Library. Here it is. If I could play it, I will. Is this going to play? I don't see a video. There he is. Okay. Let's see if I can get it to play. I don't hear any sound coming out of it. I would play it if I could get the sound up. The phone's acting up again. Come on. I don't understand why my phone is not on. I have it on. I have the sound up. I want to play Tony telling us a story. For some reason, there it is. I got it. Tell us about the battle. Okay, let me see if this is going to play now. Okay. I don't think I can play it. These are my two friends from last night. Can't you see them? Tony's the guy in the striped shirt. That's Skip, my friend from the boating universe. Just wanted to go to dinner with friends, that's all. I don't know why the sound isn't playing. It's a great little video I did. One video selected, but it's not playing. I need a kid in the house to play this for me. I don't know why it doesn't play. I'm hitting the damn thing. Anyway, what's the difference? You want to hear me talk anyway. And it's not playing. I got a great 8-minute video here. He was telling another one of his great educated stories. And it doesn't work. That's all. One more time. Okay. Go. Talk, Tony. Let's see. The people want to hear you talk. Okay. I can't make the phone do what I want it to do. Apple phone is muted. It's not muted. Okay. Forget about it. I'll put a quarter in, someone said. So I have some other ideas. I write ideas down during the week of what I'm going to talk about. I did this one already. When the chrome was thick and the women were straight. I did that one. That's a great podcast. Here's one I didn't do. Can a mean father mean well and still do harm? That's an interesting paradox. Can a mean father mean well and still do harm? You could say, can a mean mother mean well and still do harm? Of course. They think that they're doing you a favor by mentally abusing you, but they're still doing a lot of harm. That's a whole story for another time, and I don't want to do it right now. Honor thy father and thy mother, whatever, you know. Remember, I had trouble with that when I was thinking about it, like one of the commandments, honor thy father and thy mother. Why did they have to write a commandment about that if it was natural to honor thy father and thy mother? I mean, if it was a natural thing to do, they wouldn't have told us to do it. Think about the commandments. It's because people were doing things they weren't supposed to do, so they wrote the commandments to control the population. Okay, so honor thy father and thy mother. Most people didn't get along with their mothers and fathers. Mother and father said, don't do it, and you wanted to do it. So, I don't know. That's the way it is. Most people don't honor their father and their mother. Some do, some don't. Some have very mean mothers and fathers. I did a whole show years ago on radio about mean mothers. I'll never forget that show. The stories I heard were shocking. Mothers beating them with telephone cords, hitting them with phone books. I mean, mad things that go on behind closed doors. But I don't want to lose sight. I think I'm going to close the doors to the church right now because I think I've covered it all. I mean, it's a long day's journey, and tonight I got to figure out what to do with the rest of the day. Right? What are you going to do with the rest of the day? Entertain yourself? Are you on vacation? The roads are empty. Everyone's gone somewhere. Never quite understand vacations, even when I was young. When I was a kid, yes. Leaving the horrible city, New York, school, I hated it. The tenements, Longfellow Avenue, I didn't love it. It was dirty, noisy. So you drive the 2 hours up into the Catskill Mountains to the country summer, rent the bungalow. It was beautiful. It was like living in paradise. All summer, no school, playing with your friends, hiking, fishing, swimming, camping. What fun. Smelling the pine needles. We need relief. We need relief. But I don't know, at this stage of my life, this is a better relief for me than camping, fishing, swimming. Talking with you. Has God abandoned America because America abandoned God? You could say yes, and then what? How does that change anything? What, Biden's going to get out a Bible tomorrow? Remember when Bill Clinton had a staged Bible? He had his friends in Hollywood make him an extra large Bible to fake going to church. That was so funny. Bill Clinton came out with an oversized Bible so you couldn't miss it. It was funny. Real funny. Man cannot live by bread alone. What does that actually mean? You ever think about that one? Man cannot live by bread alone. Because your spirit your soul needs food, soul food. I remember when I first moved to California in 1974, I met a wonderful man. He was a fine printer. He would print these fine books with very fine type. He was just very well known in circles of bookmaking, Jack. So his mother-in-law had a home in Carmel. And it was all magical to me when I first came to California. We all drove down for the day. We had lunch in this beautiful, elegant. She was in her 80s. She looked great. She dressed beautifully. She was very literate. She had a lovely little home in Carmel. And she cooked dinner for all of us, an Italian dinner. But before we ate, and it was a group of diverse people, and she said, before we eat, we should make a prayer, she said, because we need to feed our souls as well. I thought that was very beautiful. That's what the prayer means when you sit down to dinner, why you should do it, even if it's a simple prayer. So you recognize that you're not alone and you're not God. You just say, God, thank you for giving us our daily bread. Thank you for bringing us together in peace today. That's enough. Starts like that. That's all. It puts things in context. The food tastes differently. You just say, thank God for the bread. Thank God for the peace. Thank God for your friends, family. And that's it. You make a prayer. How hard is that to do? There's another show I was going to do. I found that I had done one. I have 715 podcasts now in the library. They're going to live a long time. These podcast libraries are great. So I was going to do a show called The Importance of Living based upon a book that saved my life when I was 18 called The Importance of Living by Lin Yu Tang. This is not the original book. I got it from a friend, but I bought a new copy in hardcover. I like to read hardcover books. This book saved my life. I was going through my phase of the sufferings of young Werther when I was 18. And I found this book and it saved me. It was so filled with such wisdom. It is not truth that makes man great, but man that makes truth great. It's a saying by Confucius. Then this one really saved me because I was so worried about what to do with my life, right? And it was, this is from Chang Chao, a Chinese poet. Only those who take leisurely what the people of the world are busy about can be busy about what the people of the world take leisurely. It's a couplet that's so brilliant. Can an American understand that? Only those who take leisurely what the people of the world are busy about, meaning business, can be busy about what the people of the world take leisurely, meaning you could be busy about nature, watching a bird. And there were chapters that I loved that saved me because I was so 18, sufferings of young Werther, approach to life. And he gives the views of mankind, Christian, Greek, Chinese, spirit, flesh. And then he goes into our animal heritage. This is what saved me. I was struggling because I was, as a kid, not knowing how to unify the animal urges with the spiritual urges. And he wrote about the animal heritage, the monkey epic in the image of the monkey, on being mortal, on having a stomach, on having strong muscles, on having a mind. I love that. It let me enjoy my body. The feast of life, the importance of loafing, man, the only working animal. I love that one. This is called in the late 1930s. This is long before Mao Zedong took over China. The enjoyment of home, on getting biological, celibacy, a freak of civilization, on sex appeal, on growing old gracefully. I never read that one. But wait, here's the chapter I love, the enjoyment of living, on lying in bed, on sitting in chairs, on conversation, on tea and friendship, on smoke and incense, on drink and wine games, on food and medicine, some curious Western customs, the inhumanity of Western dress, on house and interiors. Loved it. The enjoyment of travel. But my favorite part was Chin's 33 Happy Moments. I found out what happiness is. It wasn't happiness. I found out was not about the fanciful flights of poets. Happiness, as he wrote, is getting your hair cut every 2 weeks and watching your neighbor fall off the roof. That's what he wrote. If you understand the joke. But Chin's 33 Happy Moments taught me a lot about happiness. I wish I could put my finger on it right now. It's so good. How many minutes have I been with you? Well, it's a long day's journey, and tonight I get another. You want me? Shall Mike stay on? You want Michael to stay on? It's early in the morning. You want me to stay? Say yes, Michael. Check the like button and subscribe and all of that stuff. Where's Chin's 33 Happy Moments? Chin was an ancient Chinese poet. Nothing to do with religion. It's to do with enjoying life and seeing life. I don't know where it is. Chin's 33 Happy Moments. The art of reading, the art of writing. I love reading. Reading saved me. The years I was in real pain mentally, I found reading saved my life. I read so much. Chin's 33 Happy Moments. I cannot put my fingers on it. On flowers and arrangements. The inhumanity of Western dress. I don't know. Where's Chin's? Maybe I have marked it here. No, I'm sorry. On growing old gracefully. Maybe I should read that one. I don't know. I can't read that right now. It's too complicated. I don't even want to read. I don't remember that. I never read it. I was young when I read this. But anyway, Chin's 33 Happy Moments is something along the lines like this. There were simple statements like, on cutting a big, juicy watermelon with a sharp knife on a summer's day, is this not happiness? You know what I'm saying? Like, focus on the beauty of that moment. On awakening in the morning and hearing the birds chirping outside your window. Is this not happiness? That kind of thing. Get it? And focus on the little things, and then maybe you can forget the things that are driving you insane. If I wish I could catch these, where the hell is maybe there's an index. Nah. 33 Happy Moments. They're so well written. They were written centuries ago by ancient Chinese poets who had nothing to do. Speaking of China and Asia, I watched a great movie the other night, since I'm just rapping right now. You ever watch the 1954 movie by Kurosawa, Seven Samurai, upon which many versions were made, American versions? The original Seven Samurai was 1954. What a masterpiece, considered one of the great films of all time. Try to catch it. I mean, if you're into it, it's like a 1954 black and white. Every shot is a woodcut, perfect. I can't find it. Relationship to God, restoration of religion, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, if I find it, I'll do another show on this. Chin's 33 Happy Moments. I would normally have put a post-it in it. Can't find it. The Cult of the Idle Life. I like that. That's what saved me when I was 18. I was working too hard, trying to make something in my life. I realized I can learn how to sit in the chair and drink some wine and read a book. That was beautiful. It helped me become happy in myself. This earth, the only heaven. I never forgot that subchapter. This earth, the only heaven. It was a good one. It's interesting. He was born, Lin Yutang was born to missionary parents and was a devout Christian, became an atheist. And in his later years, when he died, he converted back. He went back to Christianity. He decided he realized at the end of the road, this philosopher, there is a God, of course, a God, one God. He was a pagan when he wrote this book. But it appealed to me because I needed some paganism in me. I was too serious. Working so hard as a kid, 18, 17, just to figure it out. I've worked since I'm 5 years old. I'm not complaining. Work is the only salvation. Work is the only salvation. Right? I got it. Chin's 33 Happy Moments. You want Mike to read it? Click the like button. Subscribe. Okay, page 130. The Feast of Life. Chin's 33 Moments. You want me to read it to you? It's going to be fun. Page 130. You got nothing to do? If you're listening to me, it means you want me to do it. Qin Shanghai was an impressionistic critic of the 17th century, and he wrote his commentaries on the play Western Chamber of Happy Moments, which he once counted together with his friend when they were shut up in a temple for 10 days on account of rainy weather. These, then, are what he considers the truly happy moments of human life, moments in which the spirit is inextricably tied up with the senses. Nice. That's too long. I'll read the short ones. A friend, one I have not seen for 10 years, suddenly arrives at sunset. I open the door to receive him, and without asking whether he came by boat or by land, and without bidding him to sit down on the bed or the couch, I go to the inner chamber and humbly ask my wife, "Have you got a gallon of wine like Sung Tung Po's wife?" My wife gladly takes out her gold hairpin to sell it. I calculate it will last us 3 days. This is not happiness. Let's see. I am drinking with some romantic friends on a spring night, and I'm just half intoxicated, finding it difficult to stop drinking and equally difficult to go on. An understanding boy servant at the side suddenly brings in a package of big firecrackers, about a dozen in number, and I rise from the table and go and fire them off. The smell of sulfur assails my nostrils and enters my brain, and I feel comfortable all over my body. Ah, is this not happiness? You get the picture? To hear our children recite the classics so fluently, like the sound of pouring water from a vase. Ah, is this not happiness? You realize this is Chinese philosophy. Children reciting the classics so fluently. Here they're reciting rap music and rubbing their crotches and beating each other up. Let's see. I wake up in the morning and seem to hear someone in the house sighing and saying that last night someone died. I immediately ask to find out who it is and learn that it is the sharpest, most calculating fellow in town. Ah, is this not happiness? Oh, my God. It has been raining for a whole month, and I lie in bed in the morning like one drunk or ill. He didn't get up and go to the gym. He lived to 99. It has been raining for a whole month. And I lie in bed in the morning like one drunk or ill. He didn't get up and say, I have to go run around the block in the rain. I lie in bed like someone drunk or ill, refusing to get up. Suddenly, I hear a chorus of birds announcing a clear day. Quickly, I pull aside the curtain, push open the window, and see the beautiful sun shining and glistening. And the forest looks like having a bath. Ah, is this not happiness? You see how beautiful that is? Anyway, you get the picture of Chin's 33 Happy Moments. There's a lot of drinking in here. I am drinking on a winter's night and suddenly note that the night has turned extremely cold. I push open the window and see that snowflakes come down. I see that snowflakes come down the size of a palm, and there are already 3 or 4 inches of snow on the ground. I remember those moments. I remember as a kid, I'd wake up in my little attached house and see snow falling on the street of Utopia Parkway. Did I love it? Here's the watermelon one. To cut with a sharp knife a bright green watermelon on a big scarlet plate of a summer afternoon. Ah, is this not happiness? To keep 3 or 4 spots of eczema in a private part of my body and now and then to scald or bathe it with hot water behind closed doors. Ah, is this not happiness? Am I off track here? You want me to just talk about God now? I think it's a beautiful thing to read some ancient poetry here. No one wants to hear it anymore. You got the trolls fighting with the non-trolls. What do I care? Have I lost my audience? You're all gone? Okay, I'll keep going. If you're there, you're there. You're not there. When a good piece of old porcelain is broken, you know there is no hope of repairing it. The more you turn it about and look at it, the more you are exasperated. I then hand it to the cook, asking him to use it as any old vessel, and give orders that he shall never let that broken porcelain bowl come within my sight again. Ah, is this not happiness? That means letting go of a valuable piece that's damaged. You got it? Here's a beautiful one. If you're feeling guilt ridden over touching yourself or something like that. I am not a saint, and therefore not without sin. In the night I did something wrong, and I get up in the morning and feel extremely ill at ease about it. Suddenly I remember what is taught by Buddhism, that not to cover one's sins is the same as repentance. So then I begin to tell my sin to the entire company around, whether they are strangers or my old friends. Ah, is this not happiness? To open the window and let a wasp out of the room. Ah, is this not happiness? I've always let flies out of the room. You crush them? Are you like Biden? You chase the flies and crush them with a swatter? I always let flies out of the room because I realize they're God's creatures too. They didn't ask to be born. I don't step on ants. Did you step on ants as a kid? I didn't. I stepped over ants. To see someone's kite line broken. Ah, is this not happiness? You get how funny that is? You're watching someone fly a kite and their line breaks and the kite flies away and you laugh at it. Anyway, you get the picture. I'm trying to leave you with a positive feeling. I could go back to the God talk. This is all God talk. It's me. From the serious, from the somber, from Stalingrad to Lin Yutang. This is Michael. This is what you loved about me on the radio. And I found stuff, by the way, before I go, I should tell you about it. So the other night I was bored because I knew a long weekend was coming and I watched television at night. I usually start with TCM, especially black and white movies of the 50s, Broderick Crawford. They're my heroes. Sterling Hayden, great movies. I understand them very well. I love the 50s movies, black and white, beautiful, understandable. These powerful, strong men always did the right thing. Some of them, they played villains that you still like because they were so well. Sterling Hayden was amazing. Original member of the OSS. Lived over there in Sausalito in his last years. Loving him in A Godfather. Remember, he plays the corrupt cop. Glad Coppola dug him up and put him in that movie. And he plays the corrupt cop who punches Michael in the jaw and breaks his jaw. Great. What an actor. Got his hair cut down there in Sausalito, his barbershop. You ever read The Wanderer by Sterling Hayden? When he fled with his 2 children to escape his wife. Great book. He was a hell of a writer, too. So I watch TCM at night. I get bored of it. If they blank, I don't like 30s movies, except I watched the 30s movies that was astounding about Ziegfeld. I couldn't believe the genius of these orchestrations that they did in the 30s, these black and white movies. They could never do them again. And the girls were so stunningly beautiful. All I can think of is the Harvey Weinsteins at the time. How every girl had to go through the gauntlet of the Weinsteins of Hollywood to get in that movie. That's all I could think about. I'm a man. What do you want from me? Want me to say I don't think of it? I look at them, each one of them, they're all gone. They're all dead. So you think, like, gorgeous girls. Every one of them had to pass through a Weinstein's, casting couch. And those guys. So I usually watch 50s movies. I got bored of the 50s movies, as I was saying, and I go on to my wand here. I have Comcast. You speak into it. You could say what you want. Seven Samurai, and it'll pop it up on YouTube or wherever it's playing. So I speak into the one and I say Michael Savage on YouTube. Sometimes I want to watch my YouTube pieces like this on a television screen because I get a better image of what I'm doing. If I'm a movie watcher, I'm watching now as a director of my own show. I'm directing my own show with you right now, right? So I watch what I'm doing. It's man alone, a one-man act. It's a one-man act, but I'm still performing for you. Had to put on the tie, the shirt, the jacket, the Savage Nation hat, and I make sure the background was right. Liberalism is a mental disorder, picture of old Teddy. Loved a little boy. I dreamed of him again last night. I'm dreaming of him over and over. I went to his grave the other night. Oh, sometimes I cry over his grave. I don't know where he is. What the hell? What am I going to do as a dog? Well, he wasn't a dog. He was my spirit. He was my animal spirit, I mean. And I just loved him. And he's gone. I mean, the way of all flesh. Thank God he's left before I did, you know. A wise woman once said to children, why do dogs and cats and pets die before we do? And the wise woman said to the child, because if we died before them, they would be left with no one to take care of them. And children understand that. It's beautiful, isn't it? So that was, you know, he suffered so badly in his last weeks. It was awful. It was just awful to watch. He was in such pain. I don't want to go into it. I was feeling better. Now I'm feeling bad. I just don't want to go down that road again. So I'm watching, as I was saying, Michael Savage on YouTube. So I get up all my YouTube pieces. Now, normally I could go on YouTube and find my library of shows and watch it on a lap, you know, a desktop. But I found something that I didn't know existed, and we posted it. Where is it? Here it is. The only black man in an all-white funeral. I was knocked out by my own work. It was from a radio show done years ago, and it was on YouTube. You got to listen to this. It's a masterpiece of art. Only artists could understand how good it actually is. I remember when we did it, and somebody wrote something very interesting. Where is that? I really have to find what I'm talking about myself here. The only black man in an all-white funeral. It's on my YouTube channel, and it was put up 23 hours ago, and it didn't have a lot. Only 3,000 people watched it. That's still an audience, sizable. In our home, a big burly black guy, not with a smile nor a scowl. It's so good. He had a technique or a technology that appealed to my father. You see, Ray used a stethoscope. When he listened to the engine sounds with his trusty stethoscope, I'm going to stop it. The valve covers the great 50. Go listen to it yourself on YouTube, or I put it up on Twitter. And somebody wrote, a guy named @JohnHammer. I don't know if it's the John Hammer, the actor. I don't know who it is. Says this was as if art was put into words. I wonder if Doctor even knows that. Thank you for a timeless story that more Americans need to understand. The only black man at a white man's funeral. True story. But I found something else that was good that I haven't yet posted. It'll be up this week. It's unbelievably good. I did art when I did radio, and I combined it with music, and the timing was good because I had Doug. You remember Doug Lynn, my producer, who unfortunately suffering from cancer? I spoke to him the other day. He's not doing well. You should go back to the donation page for him on michaelsavage.com and send him $20. Do it for Memorial Day. What a great guy. We worked together for 20 years. Who knows how long. Guy's still suffering from cancer. Doug Lynn. Hope Doug, yeah, whatever. Just send him $20. That's all. Doug Lynn. It's on michaelsavage.com. So I want to find the music, the train music I'm going to go out with. I have it here. I saved it somewhere in a soundbite. It's going to be so hard for me to find this right now on the saved mail. I may have it on the saved mail. It's a soundbite. Karen sent it. Paul Revere sign in. Brown Pelicans. Steven, here's the link. I don't know. Where the hell is it? Now I can't find it. No, I save these sound bites to play. Then it must be under my archive mail. Save my archive spot. Tulsi Gabbard. I had Tulsi Gabbard on this week, and She's going to be on my podcast on Tuesday. Great woman. She should be his VP pick. And I think she could save America. Love her. She left the Democrat Party. I'm sorry, folks. I can't find the train sounds. I had them, but I can't find Michael Savage train sounds because I'd like to play them now as I go out the door. How could I lose something like I saved them under my save mail, but never when I could need it. That's what the thing about email is you save it and then it's gone. I don't know where the hell it went. Let me go to my other email account and see if I saved it there because it's really worth it. Of the train sounds, me, da, da, da. Nope, don't have it. I bet if I go on YouTube on Google search, Michael Savage train sounds. I love Google. I know I'm not supposed to like it. It's like a crime if you do. I love the internet. I know how to use it. Here, Michael Savage train sounds on YouTube. YouTube train sounds for two. Nope. Steam train, Michael Savage YouTube. Nope. Borders, language, culture, home of the Savage Nation. To view the official Michael Savage website, go to michaelsavage.com. Long train sounds for sleep. I don't have that one. Michael Savage Show, American radio show hosted by conservative commentator Michael Savage. Really call him conservative? Wow. For a long while, they called me every name under the sun, and suddenly I become a conservative. I'm acceptable. They hated me in the when I first came on radio. One of the top people in the conservative movement, he said, we first heard you on radio in New York. He said, we thought you were crazy. He said, now we know you were a prophet. Everything you said came true. No kidding. I'm glad I lived long enough to hear that. Unfortunately, he's in trouble right now. Train sounds, YouTube videos, downloadable train sounds. Best sound effects. But you have to pay for this. Royalty-free sound effects. I'll never get this. My sound is so much better. I love that sound of the train going out. Oh, you change cookies. I don't want cookies. What's this cookies? I hate this thing that they make you download stuff. The minute you get tricked into it, I can't find it. Download everything. You have to sign up to something so they can own you even more. Well, imagine the train sounds. Okay. Well, here's one. Maybe this will be good. Is it conductor saying all aboard? Is that free or I'm going to get sued? I'll play it, then YouTube will ping me. Amtrak. I've been dreaming about going on a train again, but I know I'm not going to do it. You can't stand between the cars anymore and smell the air. Everything's like air conditioned, the whole thing. You're going to eat like a ham sandwich on a train and watch the country go by. No air. All aboard.
All aboard! All aboard! All aboard!
Awful. This guy can't do sound. He stinks. Where they get this guy from? Amtrak music. No wonder Amtrak's going out of business because they can't even say all aboard with any feeling to it. Okay, let's see what this does. There we go. All right, folks. Thanks for listening. Subscribe. Been with you for how long? I gave you my guts today. 1 hour and 9 minutes. That's a long time. Long time. Bye now. Thanks for listening. Oh, here's a steam train. Want to hear that? I'll tell you a train story now that Okay, that reminds me of my childhood. I go way back. Let me turn this off before I lose. I'll turn it off. Okay, so I remember boarding a train in Penn Station in New York when I was a kid. Every Thanksgiving, I'd get out of school early on that Wednesday. I would just sit there waiting to be let out of school at noon because the kids had to stay till 3. But we would be let out early because we were going to go to Penn Station. My mother, God bless, rest her soul, would pick us up. Dad never went. He was working 7 days a week to keep the family alive in his little store. But Mom would pick us up at school, and we go to Penn Station. I don't even know how we got there. I don't remember. It wasn't by car, probably by subway. That's before you got set on fire by one of Alvin Bragg's cohorts. Subways was safe. We get into Penn Station, and then go on the platform. We were going to go visit our cousins in Easton, Pennsylvania for the Thanksgiving weekend. The happiest moments of my life were getting out of New York on that train. So we get on the train in Penn Station, and it was an electric train. And then when we go under the river, come out in New Jersey somewhere, they would switch out the locomotive from electric to coal-burning locomotive, a coal-burning locomotive. It was unbelievable because New Jersey still permitted coal burners. New York, of course, had already stopped the coal burners coming in. And then the train would make so much noise and spew so much fume. I even liked the smell of the soot in my nose if I went between the cars. I didn't mind the cinders and the smell. Kids don't know it's bad for them. It was an experience. And then the train would pull into that station, and you'd be buried in this carcinogenic smoke and soot falling all over you, and you couldn't even see what the hell was going on. And we'd be on the tracks, on the platform now. We're looking for our relatives because we're going to stay in their house for the weekend, no Motel 6. And and you look, and the kid would get scared that they're not going to be there. I didn't know where we were going to stay. It's like minutes, and all of a sudden the smoke would clear, and there would be your uncle and your aunt and your cousins, right? What a great feeling. That's one of Chin's 33 happy moments that he didn't write about. That's one of Michael's happy moments. And that's it, my friends. Thanks for being with me. Staying alive, staying alive, staying alive. Yeah, staying alive, staying alive. I hope you've enjoyed this time with me. An hour and 12 minutes is like 3 hours of radio. Because on radio today, I don't know how they do it with the live reads. I quit radio, by the way, as well as anyone else will tell you, because I refused to do live reads. I wouldn't do them. They said, you have to. That's part of the show. I was fighting with them for 2 years. That's why they finally said goodbye, and they kept the controlled opposition on. I don't want to mention their names. You know who they are. God bless them. God will take care of them. God sees the truth but waits. I have no enemies, no direct enemies. I seek no vengeance. I leave vengeance to God. God gets even with everybody, including me. You think I don't know it? What do you think? It's going to be a nice ending? The nicest people die in agony. You're born in blood, coated with blood and agony, and that's how you die. It's horrible. It's just the way it is. I don't know why God set it up that way. We're supposed to be a mess when we go out, a wreck. No one gets a clean ending. So I don't want to go into that. That's it's a time for another podcast, what that's about. I can get dark so fast you don't know where it's coming from. I could take from the light to the darkness and back again in the blink of an eye. So, yeah, okay. All right, folks. I just want to say goodbye somehow. I guess I should play the train sounds again. Okay, we'll give you some train sounds. Oh, I did trains already. I did all aboard, free all aboard sound effects, all aboard sound, download all aboard, royalty free. No, then you got to sign up. All aboard train, YouTube, all aboard train sounds, audio. Let me try one more. Train conductor. Now, we did that. They're going to make me sign again with cookies. Maybe I want to go on a train again. I wrote one very good set of stories on a train back in the 80s. I can't go on Amtrak again. You know where I live, you got to drive over to the East Bay. I would not get on a train in Oakland. I'd get mugged and killed. So I used to pick it up in Fairfield and get on that beautiful train. Just to get on that train and see it climb the mountains, the Sierra Nevada, is actually an experience you should have one day in your life. Amtrak still runs out of the flats of the Bay Area, and you see it climb. And then when it gets up in the mountains, especially in the winter, oh my God, they're so majestic. And one of the things that drew me to California was the majesty of the land here, not the politics, the majesty of the land. And that train would climb up into the snowy mountains. Wow. Very often they get stuck in the tunnel for hours, you know. Yeah, I gave it up. But then you go into Truckee. I used to stay in it was like out of an old Western movie. And it's still there, the building. In Truckee itself, there's an old Western building. There was a rooming house, then a hotel. And I didn't have any money, so I'd stay in that dump. And at night, the train would come through. The whole room would shake. The lamps would shake in the room. It was so amazing. I felt like I was in a Gabby Hayes movie. But I'm not going to stay in that kind of room anymore. I don't sleep well anywhere but in my own bed to begin with. I'm a light sleeper. It's why I don't like to travel. But many of you are traveling right now, probably listening to me on your trip somewhere. Maybe you're just tuned in. It's been quite an experience that I took you through Stalingrad, Chinese poetry of the 17th century, the Sierra Nevada trains, and that's it. Something that I have a God-given gift to do. I don't have a script. I don't need a script. God wrote the script inside me, and all I got to do is talk to you. That's all. I don't have the train sound. I only have my voice. It's my instrument. God talk, is God abandoned America because America's abandoned God? What do I know? I'll let you know when I see him. Okay, you have an answer to that one? I've heard it before. Don't know if it's true. I talked against war. I talked for peace. My latest podcast is The Rise of the Crypto Fascists with a picture of Joe Biden. Never thought that this guy could be so evil and do such damage in such a short period of time. The hatred for white people. He gives a speech at West Point, again, talking about hate. Speaks at a black college, talks about hate and how oppressed blacks are. Trump speaks in the Bronx the other day to blacks and Hispanic people. Not one word of hate came out of his mouth. I don't know why God foisted the Biden atheists upon us. I don't know what he's trying to do to us. I have no idea why God did this to us and put this evil upon us. I don't know why. Well, thanks for listening. And I'll close the way I used to close, which is by saying this: with God's will and your listenership, I shall return.